Welcome to the Value Driven Brand Podcast, where you'll learn insights on how to communicate with authenticity, deliver genuine value, and create a memorable experience across your entire customer journey, helping your business become the sought-after leader in your industry. I'm your host, Aileen. Now, on to the show. G'day everybody and welcome to the Value Driven Brand Podcast. You're here with Aileen Day and my very special guest for episode 2. It is Mick Croudace from Croudace Constructs over in Adelaide, South Australia. Welcome, Mick. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for the opportunity to come along.
I'm very excited to get to chat to Mick. Mick has been in business for himself now for 6 years, and before going into business for himself was a site supervisor for a leading shop fitter out in Sydney, ye old Sydney town. And then you decided to trip it on back home to South Australia, and talk to me about what happened after that.
So after living in Sydney for, I think I was there a couple of years, we were doing a lot of national shop fitting for a national brand, Dusk. And I decided that I just always wanted to start my own business. And I was, wanted to get back to the Adelaide life and come back to Adelaide. And just began setting up. Started off with one man and a van style subcontracting, and grew the team from there.
So I understand after 6 years you have a team of 18. Is that correct?
Yes, I think 18 is the figure now. Yeah.
That is a phenomenal growth and scaling story, if I've ever heard one. And so what's the difference between, your one-man van subcontracting and a team of 18? What are some of the things that you've had to learn along the way that have got you where you are now?
Yeah, so I think the main difference now from them is when becoming a leader in the first place is a journey in itself. But now we've got sort of multiple facets to the company. Now I've had to become a leader of leaders, and it's a bit of a different strategy. Being a leader of say 3 or 4 tradesmen is one thing, but it's all very operational. What's happening day to day or week by week. Whereas now we've like I said, got a lot of different people. Accountants, we've got marketing, and estimators we've got in the office. So we've got all different teams, and we have to sort of play a longer game, and actually be a leader of each leader of that part of the business.
That is a really good point that you make, is that I come across quite often business owners who have only ever kind of led maybe themselves and their apprentice, or themselves and a couple of other people on the shop floor or on the work site, whatever the case might be. But when they get to that point of scaling, that concept of leading leaders becomes a real limiting stop for them. To be honest, it scares the shit out of them, to the point where they start doing it. They don't believe in themselves, and they start doing it so badly that they have the problems that they start coming up with team members revolting against the job and stuff like that. So I find it fascinating to learn from business owners, especially ones who've experienced what you've experienced. How did you go about learning how to lead a leader?
How did I go about that? That's good. Just read a shit ton of books on leadership strategies, and I guess.
Who's your favorite leadership strategist?
So I've just read Turn the Ship Around, and who is the guy? I can't what is his name? I can't remember. I might have to come back to you on the name of the guy who wrote it. But it's about a submarine ship captain in the US Naval Force. And he gets given control of this submarine with the intention of completely turning it from the worst performing sub in pretty much every field to the most efficient and battle ready, I think they say, submarine in the fleet. So that's
Google tells me it's by
David Marquez.
David Marquez.
Marquez. Okay, yeah, all right, yeah. There you go, Google. Thank you again.
Thanks, Google.
Yeah, so I think defining what type of leader you want to be is the first step, and then gaining knowledge and testing your theories around that area. Another great book was is it The Pursuit? Not The Pursuit of Happiness. Something about happiness. What's that one? And it's all about Zappos.
Say that's a Will Smith movie, isn't it?
Oh, The Pursuit of Happiness, is it? Yeah, there you go. That's what I was ringing a bell. What was it?
I think it was a book to start with, though.
Was it? No.
Yeah.
It's called. So I'm just looking on my bookshelf now to see if I can see it stand out.
Was it about a man and his son?
No.
Not that one, then.
No, not that one. Wait there, I've lost you for a sec.
Got me?
There you go.
Those longing pauses.
Yeah.
Everyone listening is probably like, what's going on?
What is going on? I'm just going to plug you in. There you go. It said you were running low, so I just had my computer.
I am the master of my energy.
There you go.
Unless I'm a laptop.
Yeah, so it was about Zappos basically, and how this guy, very similar scaling story, went from a startup. It was and they started off as a shoe company, and then right up through their buyout for over, I think it's like $1.5 billion buyout from Amazon. So like huge scaling, and it was the journey in which he's defining what type of leader he wants to be, what type of culture they want to be running. So pretty, again, a real cool story on leadership.
Is that Zig Ziglar?
No, it's called something happiness.
I
It's
think
by
I've
a
got
guy
that
called
book.
Tony Shea. It's by I just can't remember the name.
I'm just looking at my bookshelf, but I think it's behind me. So, but
there you go.
So as far as strategy goes, I think that is a really helpful start to developing a leadership style. And I would certainly say that for the people that I come across, especially when they have to trial and error some of their leadership moments, that transparency is the key, and just being a little bit vulnerable in the sense of, as your business grows, when your team understands that you're kind of as new to this as you are, that they give you a bit more of an allowance to trial and error some things. But again, it kind of comes down to whether you are also, as a leader, willing to take that constructive feedback and ask for that feedback, because how else then do you know that those leadership traits are working out the best they can work out? So how do you as you learn and educate yourself on different leadership styles, how do you make sure that your team are on board with what you're trying out?
Yeah, that's actually a great question, and I think it comes from having a supportive culture in the business, and ensuring that everyone is on the same page when it comes to the direction of the company and where it's going. And why I mentioned the culture is we want to create a company full of leaders and people who like getting feedback, and like in return giving feedback. And I think that comes from the top, and the sort of the pace that you set as a leader, how things should be. So if I'm there saying it's all right to give me feedback, they're going to in return like accepting feedback themselves.
Yeah. And look, that as feedback is my gig, that makes me so happy to hear. And I think, giving feedback is, there's a little bit of skill in that, and teaching your talent and your team members that when they do give it, and they give it constructively, that there's no recourse for that feedback. I think is what you're saying, is creating a really supportive culture. There's been a few times where I've seen people say, yeah, I'm open to feedback, and they get it and they don't like it, and their ego gets in the way. And, we talked about this earlier, people get defensive, and, they get a little bit hurt and don't quite know how to comprehend or do anything about what they've been told. So they start to become quite resentful. So I think a lot of great leaders let their team practice giving good feedback, or giving feedback in a manner that's effective, but also getting feedback and then helping them understand what to do about it. Because if we don't help them understand what to do about it, then nothing's going to change, really.
And then it does make the feedback pretty useless, really, because unless we're doing something with it. But also setting aside a time for feedback to be given, rather than just like sort of off the cuff feedback, I think is quite good. But like more in-depth feedback where you can actually go into detail on how you can, overcome certain issues or what you're doing well, and making that person understand why they're doing that well, so they can continue to do that. Yeah,
the why is so important. We know, even dealing with in our own lives, that if someone was to say, can you go do this, that the likelihood of them going and doing that is low, unless you were to say, can you go do this because, and then when you add in that because, people comprehend, okay, there's a reason behind this. I understand the part I play in the outcome, whereas before I didn't understand the part I played in the outcome, therefore I wasn't inclined to be a part of the outcome. So the why is so important. And the same goes for if it's, constructive feedback, why, asking why it's occurring. I was talking to some business owners yesterday, and they were saying, one of them was saying that he had some team members who had a bit of a altercation in front of the rest of the team on the floor, and now he needed to understand what was going on and deal with it. And I said, that's great, but also remember that maybe there's more behind that altercation, and to ask them why, because sometimes people, and it's human nature, we have things going on in our lives, and especially at the moment, people are dealing with things, maybe at a heightened emotion and a little bit more anxiety, a little bit more stress than usual, and it really wouldn't take too much for the average person to be tipped over the edge. So I think it's important as a leader, when you are giving feedback, to also give the why as well. So it's a really great process that you have. So this is the Value Driven Brand podcast, and I would love to know from Croudace Constructs, the man leading the team, what is it that your business does to tactically deliver a value-driven brand? What is it that the people listening on can take in and implement in their own business processes and operations and strategies to help them become their own value-driven brand?
Yeah, okay. Can you prompt me on what I said last time?
You're too funny.
I bought some crackers yesterday, and I should have printed it out, but I did not.
You did for those listening, I get everybody to send me their points before the.
Oh shit! I thought you said, "Is this getting edited?" This one?
No, this is it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
well,
this is the human experience.
In that case, this
Would
is
you like
the
me
part
to
where
prompt you?
Aileen prompts me. Please,
okay,
yes.
This is the bit where Aileen prompts you. So you told me that one of your tactics is to know who you are. What does that mean?
Ah, exactly. Okay. So this is why I wanted you to prompt me instead of me making up new ones, because I've really put some thought into this. Okay. If you know who you are as a company, what your strengths are and why you are who you are, what your reason for being in business is, and I don't want to say what your purpose is and, make it all kind of like that. But if you know who you are as a company, you can much easier identify what clients suit you, and the clients that suit you, you will be able to deliver so much more value for them than you will for a client that doesn't suit your needs so much. And let me give a quick example. Okay, so
yeah, great.
We are a commercial building company, but we specialize in interior commercial building. So if someone was to come to us and say, hey, I've got this project that we'd like a price on. It's it's a single story extension of a school, for example. I would quite happily turn that down, because I know that's not who we are. That is not where we deliver the best value. And, and I feel that is so important to deliver value, is knowing what your strengths are as a company and really sticking to them.
Yeah, that is a really good point. I recently contacted a videographer who I love their work. They're amazing. And we met up and I had explained to them what type of, video capturing I was looking for. And initially they were like, yeah, that's really different. That's exciting. But they must have gone away and gone, you know what? That's not who we are. So they called me back, right, and they said, you know what? We would love to work with you, but we know that's not who we are. We know what we're here for, and that's where we bring the gold nuggets. So instead of pretending to be someone they're not, they have organized for me to be connected with somebody who is more aligned to what I'm trying to produce, instead of trying to be something for everybody. So I think that's a really fantastic thing to take into account as a business owner and an entrepreneur, or even a leader in business. Know who you are.
Yeah, awesome.
The other one that you talked about was, what can you be the best in the world at?
Yeah. Okay. So this is actually from the book Good to Great by Jim Collins. And I think he calls it the hedgehog strategy, which is like, what is the hedgehog good at? Okay. So it's quite a small little animal, but its number one go-to is it shrinks into a ball whenever it feels attacked, right? And so that is the thing it does best in the world at. So what can we do that it will be the best in the world at? And if you focus on that, solely put all your efforts into that, then you will be able to do that better than if you're spreading yourself too thinly across multiple different, types of business, or, different services you offer them.
So that really goes hand in hand with the first one, doesn't it? Once you've started to learn who you are and what, what you're here for, you can then
100%.
take that and become the best in the world at it.
Or aim to be, obviously we're not all going to become the best. Say if you're selling shoes, for example, we're not going to be the best in the world.
I could be the best at wearing shoes.
Or buying them, maybe.
Or buying them.
But it's not necessarily to become the best in the world, but if that's what you're aiming for, you're constantly thinking, how can we offer more value to our clients? Because at the end of the day, it's our clients that are what allowing us the opportunity to stay in business.
Absolutely.
And if we serve them to the highest possible way, then we can become better, and we're constantly thinking of ways to develop our customer service or customer satisfaction. And yeah, I think if we do everything right by the customer, we are always aiming to be the best in the world at it.
Oh, my heart is singing. Just if you need help with your customer experience, feel free to shout out. I'm your lady. So I absolutely love that. The third one you gave me was a concise list of values that are actually relatable.
Okay. Yeah. And so this is something we review every 3 months with what we call our leadership team. And we just ensure that everyone is still aligning with them. I think the last but one leaders meeting, we dropped, I think we went from say 12 values down to like 6 or 7. We're like, we want to be able to, have them on the wall, and every one of them make a big statement.
Yeah.
And again, this all relates back, I think, to who we are as a company, who we are with what we do day to day, and who we are when it comes to like certain scenarios unfolding and we have to deal with them. So if we have a list of values that everyone can relate to, it's who they show up to be in the morning, or if we have a difficult a problem arises, or we're just generally having a difficult day, then we can think back to go, okay, well, this has happened. Okay, what are our values, and like how should we deal with this problem?
I love that. And can I throw in there that just because you have taken gone from 12 down to 6, that doesn't mean that you live less values or you value less things. That just means that ultimately those are, as I explained to my clients, those are the core, non-negotiable, every single day, every single moment values that I live day in, day out. Is that how you see it as well?
Yes. So 100% that, so a couple we thought were crossing over that didn't need to cross over. And a couple we just thought, what, is that a core? I think some companies call it their core principles. But we call it our values. And it's about being, do we need that every single time? And if the answer is yes, it would stay, and if it was like, well, in some cases that might not happen, and or in sometimes we might not need to use that. So it really was to condense the list into a set of values that everyone needs to know and everyone needs to use in their day-to-day operations.
Yeah, I love that. And I do values and purpose and vision workshops with customers regularly, and same as you, they'll start off with this list of 12, sometimes even more, and I'm like, are they the live or die? I call them the live or die values. I have 6 in my business, and I will die without them. I will not live through this business without those values. But that doesn't mean that that's all I value. It just means that. And for me, back to your initial point of know who you are, that's what also helps me figure out who I want to work with. So my values are things like integrity and fun and passion. I'm highly passionate. Sometimes some might say too passionate, but they can get fucked. And
they're wrong.
They're wrong. I'm passionate about how wrong they are. But, it has absolutely given me a compass using my business values to learn who I want to do business with. So, you know, it has helped me pick and choose, okay, well, the money is great, but they're a bunch of pricks, right? So there's no passion, there's no fun, there's no integrity, then it's a no, you know. So they are the guiding principles of who I decide to work with these days. And it also then goes back to helping me know who I am as a business. So I freaking love that. And so far I'm loving that all of your tactics so far just neatly come back to each other. Like they all just work in this, you know, circular model of helping you create a value-driven brand. But there is one more.
Oh, one more? Okay.
You have given me one more.
Yes,
it is, how do you go the extra mile for your clients?
Yeah. Okay. So this is one of our values, and it's we go the extra mile, and it's about delivering that above and beyond sort of, you know, on our projects, or, you know, just with a thank you note or something at the end.
Aww.
And it's just, yeah, I think that is something that relates to me a lot, and because the customer could have gone and use someone else, but they didn't. They chose us. And, you know, we thank that by doing something a little bit extra. You know, not every single time this doesn't happen, but if we can, we will. You know, can we get over a variation without charging, or can we you know, deliver a project a little bit early? You know, can we give them a slight upgrade on something? And that, I think, is what sets us apart. You know, that's what, if we're fully customer focused, and that goes for all businesses, I think, if we are fully customer focused, the profits and the revenue will come.
Yeah, they're an outcome.
Focus first on customer satisfaction on your jobs. Obviously, you can't create customer satisfaction if you don't have a job in the first place, but if we do, fully focus on how you can go the extra mile for the customer, and that in turn will lead to, you know, the revenue.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it actually reminds me of a post I saw your company put up after building a bar. And you posted a picture of the finished bar, which looked amazing, to the owners and said you'd shout them a beer at the new bar. I'm like, shouldn't they shout you a beer? You just built this amazing bar for them. But that's what it means to be a customer-centric business, is like, I want to show you, the business that chose us, how grateful and appreciative we are that you made that decision and you trusted us with your project, that we want to shout you a beer, mate, because that's how thankful we are. And I thought about it after a few minutes and I went, actually, no, that's bloody genius. I love it.
It's definitely about customer relationships and how you can build on them, and hopefully we'll work together again in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one thing, as I get a little bit more practice doing these podcasts, is to ask a couple of extra questions. So one of the questions that I would like to ask you is, in your career, that is a very bright green drink bottle you have there.
I know, Flora.
We'll find that in the dark. For those listening, feel free to tune in on YouTube as well. You'll be able to see Mick's very bright green drink bottle. But back to business. So talk to me about the best advice you've been given in your career.
Okay. So this is a piece of advice that stands out for me, and I heard this advice probably, you know, around the 6 years ago when I was starting out, and someone said to me, if you keep throwing darts, you'll start to hit the bullseye.
Say that again, nice and loud.
Nice and loud. I said, if you keep throwing darts, soon you'll start hitting the bullseye.
I love that.
Yeah.
Ah.
And yeah, just a bit of context. This was back when I was starting out, and it was just me by myself. And so I was working through the day, and then I was coming home at night, and I was working on tenders and quotes at night. To, you know, sometimes past 12 o'clock, quite often. And you know, and then on the weekend I'd go and see my friends, and they say, you know, how you gone? And it seemed a lot that we weren't getting anywhere. And that's when I heard that advice, and it's just stuck with me and really resonated ever since. That anything we're breaking into new or we're doing, it eventually we will see progress. And sometimes it may not feel like we're progressing very far or very quick, but if we keep at it, just keep at it, we'll see some change.
What a fantastic metaphor.
Mm.
I love that. I can't believe I'm 40 and I've not heard it.
Yeah.
Since before today, yeah. Anyway.
No, well, maybe we can copyright that one.
Yeah. Well, you know, we'll give credit to, you know, the strange person that gave it to you, but they obviously knew a thing or two. So hats off to them.
Hats off or maybe they just like darts.
Maybe they like darts. I'm terrible at darts. Thank God it's not a literal term. Well, you know, even if it was a literal term, based on that theory, I'd get a bullseye eventually if I didn't quit.
Maybe I was playing darts at the time, and that's just no.
Who knows? But it is stuck, and it has stuck. And I think, you know, as you said before, it's certainly as you were grinding away and doing the hard yards, you know, you keep that in the back of your mind, and you're like, okay, we're going to get there eventually. And I think this day and age where, you know, we could sit there and generation bash that, you know, millennials want everything yesterday. But I remember as a child, you know, people saying the same thing about Gen Y and then Gen Z. And so everybody wants everything yesterday. We do live in a world of instant gratification where if I try something once, that I expect to be a master at it. And therefore, if I'm not, I have no persistence, no resilience, and I give up and I move on to the next thing. And I think what that career advice really kind of does is it helps you understand that, you know what, you can't just give up after throwing the first dart. You have to keep throwing darts to get the bullseye. You have to keep going. You can't just do it once and expect to be the dart champion of the pub. Like, you've got to give it a crack a little bit longer than that.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. I love it. Makes my heart sing again. So many things to make my heart happy in this podcast. I'm very excited. Now, that is just about all we have time for today. And I wanted to let everybody know, I forgot to mention it in the first podcast that we had with Amy Hare, the holistic healing coach, that I get all of my guests to fill out a profile, I guess, for me before they come onto the podcast. And one of the questions that I ask them is, what is the song that gets you pumped? Like, what is that song that just gets you ready for anything? And do you remember the song that you put down?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
This is my morning ritual song.
Is it?
And I pretty much switch this on every morning before I get in the shower. What is it? Lovely Day. Lovely Day
by Bill Withers. That is super. So, I love that. That's part of your morning habit.
Well, if you listen to that song every morning, I guarantee it'll put a smile on your face. It just leaves you feeling good. And if you could do that at the start of the day, then the rest of the day is a bit easier.
What great advice. So for everybody listening, with the podcast, you will also find access to the Spotify playlist that all of the guests and their song choices are going to be getting added to. So I'm really excited. The more guests that we have, the bigger that playlist is going to get. And start playing that every day, and you are going to be rocking and rolling and delivering value in no time. I have no doubt whatsoever. Mick Croudace from Croudace Constructs, thank you so much for your time today and your nuggets of gold on how we in business can deliver a value-driven brand in our own businesses and our own lives. And I want to say thank you for everything and all your time today. And I can't wait for this to be shared and see the reaction from everybody listening in.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the Value Driven Brand Podcast with your host, Aileen Day. Is your business struggling to become known as the sought-after leader in your industry? Access our Value Driven Brand quiz and special 3-part podcast series to identify the gaps and what you need to focus on first. Go to www.valuedrivenbrand.com/podcast series. That's valuedrivenbrand.com/podcast series. Tune in next time where we discuss more ideas on how you can deliver your own value-driven brand.